Babylon is fallen, and look, she's become a whole of every foul spirit. You walk down the street, how's the spirit of the people? Look, mother, get off my car, nigga, get out, blah, blah. It's what you hear. This is among you, among white folk. It may not have that same thing, but it's low down and foul. They plot the takeover of governments and nations. Plot how to use food as a weapon to starve people and force them to bow down to policies and programs that are not good. A hole of every foul spirit and a cage for every unclean and hateful bird. You know what an unclean bird is? An unclean bird is like a raven, a vulture, buzzard. You know, they live off the decaying flesh of others. This is what America has become. A house filled with foul-spirited, unclean, hateful people that feed from the decaying flesh of each other. Now, as trouble breaks out for white folk all over the world, you see them running, getting out of Africa, getting out of Asia, unclean, hateful birds. They fly into Europe, fly into America. America got her Statue of Liberty, opening the door for European immigrants to come in. And when they come, they're full of hate, because they lost their possession in Africa, in the Caribbean. They run to America. And they look at you with hate because your brother over there drove him out. So America has become a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived luxuriously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Mystery Babylon gonna burn. Oh man, well, let's get into it now. Y'all all right? Now listen, brothers and sisters, I want to make a few simple points here on the Day of Atonement, the Sabbath day, and the Day of Judgment. In the Old Testament, the Jews have a Day of Atonement, and it's the highest holy day in the Jewish calendar. And those who are Hebrews, whether they're black or white, observe that holy day. That Day of Atonement was a sign. Not the real thing. It was a sign of something. I'm going to say it again. The Day of Atonement practiced by Jews or Hebrews all over the world is a sign of something much bigger. The Sabbath that you practice, that 24-hour period from sundown on the day of the 6th, the night of the 6th, to sundown on the 7th day is your Sabbath. And you do that once a week. That's not the real Sabbath. That's a sign. All right? Let me explain. You see, the Caucasian was given 6 days. So when Moses came, he gave them a reminder of their doom. He said, now 6 days you do your work, but in the 7th day you rest. That is a holy day that must be consecrated to God. So if you look at most of us who are Christians or Jews, we would work for 6 days and we would kind of raise a lot of hell, do what you want to do 6 days. And when I was young, on the night of the 6th day, which if you were a Jew, it would be Friday evening going into Saturday. If you were a Christian, it's Saturday evening going into Sunday. Saturday night, Mom would get the children and we all would have to bathe and get washed up and get cleaned up. This was a long time ago. I only took a bath once a week on them days. Oh, if we only could take a bath once a week this time, man, there'd be some tough stuff around here. But on that night, Mama would get your clothes ready for church on Sunday. And you'd get your suit ready and your shirt and your clean underwear. And then when Sunday morning came, it was a whole different atmosphere in the house. The family gathered. There was more talk of righteousness, family matters. And you'd get ready to go to church to attend Sunday school, then Sunday service, then you'd come back in the evening for your Vesper service or whatnot. But all of that was just a sign. A sign of what? See, a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. So what God was giving them through Moses was this: you got 6,000 years, white folk, to raise hell on this earth. But in the 7,000th year, and this is why you have a group of people called the Seventh-day Adventists, who believe that God would come in the 7th day or the 7,000th year from Adam. So now what you call the day, the Sabbath, is really a 1,000-year period where the whole earth would be cleansed from the work of Satan. And it starts on the coming of the Mahdi and the Messiah, or God's presence in the world. Then that millennium begins. That Sabbath begins. So you're being called now to come out of the 6-day work of this enemy. Take off the old man, put on the new man. Take off the old clothes of an old world of lies and deceit and put on a clean garment of truth and righteousness. Come out of her. Now you ain't gonna be here 1,000 years. But the work of the Sabbath has already begun. It is the day when healing takes place. What did 6 days of living under white folk make out of us? Do you think we need some healing? I mean, just look at yourself. We're not what we should be. Why aren't we? We've been under Satan. So the work of Jesus and the work of the Sabbath is the same work. That's why the Jews didn't agree with Jesus. They said, look, Jesus, you say you're a Jew, but look at what you're doing. You're doing some work on the Sabbath. You should not work on the Sabbath. He said, what man having a donkey that falls in the ditch wouldn't pull him out on the Sabbath day? And then in Mark it says, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. What does that mean?